Welcome everyone for City on a Hill, Surf Coast. I am Louis Glazebrook and you are watching Surf Coast Cafe, a place for us to meet and get to know those in our church family. And today we are joined by Josh Belousov. Josh is a man of many talents and he holds his cards pretty close to his chest, but the more and more you get to know about Josh, the more and more you are surprised and also impressed. How are you going today, Josh?
I'm good. I'm doing well. I don't know if much of that intro is true, but I'm going well.
Well, it's all about building anticipation for these wonderful interviews that we've been having that I think are a real YouTube success. Yeah.
Cool.
Josh, we are in the virtual Surf Coast Cafe, a place where, I don't think we actually can even be meeting in a cafe yet. I don't know, you probably have to do a booking or something. Everything's going up and down all over the world. If we were in a real cafe, what would your order be if we were sitting down together?
Well, it would traditionally have been a long black. I would normally have 3, maybe 4 long black coffees a day.
Yeah, wow.
But I decided that maybe that wasn't good long term. So given everything else was changing in COVID, I thought maybe I'll try stop drinking coffee.
Yeah.
So since February, I haven't. I've had the occasional coffee since. So today, what I would have is probably a chai latte or something that has no caffeine in it, or maybe a decaf long black. But I feel like that's I don't really get at the decaf.
Yeah. Okay. They don't get after the decaf.
Yeah.
So
it's probably a pretty boring cafe order.
Chai latte, no, I think that's okay. I mean, it depends on how fruity you want to be with the chai latte, doesn't it? You know, if you want to have almond milk or honey or extra cinnamon.
Yeah. Well, there's a cafe that I often go to that when you ask for a chai latte, they say, "Do you want cow's milk with that?" Like, you kind of shouldn't want cow's milk. Like, there's a vegan alternative that would be better. So I have had a few almond milk ones.
Okay, all right. That's pretty fruity of you, Josh, but we know you're a real man. No, we've had a few chai lattes on the Surf Coast Cafe already. So you're in good company.
Good.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I feel like chai lattes do have caffeine in them. I think isn't the base of a chai latte a black tea?
It may be. I would assume that it has less caffeine than a coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't researched it, so I may be incorrect. It feels like I'm having less caffeine than 3 or 4 long blacks a day, but I'm happy for someone to tell me I'm incorrect, and I'll have to change or maybe then I'll have to go to peppermint tea or something.
I'm pretty sure if you're not on 4 long blacks, you're definitely having less caffeine.
Yeah, that's the intention. So we're going good there.
Oh, that's good. Hey, we'd love to know a little bit about you, Joe. Like, let's think pre-corona, because we're not post yet. Like, what does a normal week look like for you? Who's at home? How do you spend your time?
So who's at home? I'm married to Natasha. We have 2 boys, Noah and Levi. We have another little one coming soon in the next month or so, which is pretty exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. So there'll be three kids, and Tasha and I. We live in Armstrong Creek. We moved there from Melbourne 3 or 4 years ago. I have a IT consulting business that I started with a friend just over 4 years ago now. So we do a bunch of IT stuff for banks and super funds primarily. And that keeps me pretty busy. Over the last 4 years, we've grown from 2 of us to just over 40 of us now. And that takes a lot of my time. I generally do a fair bit of travel. Before I started this, I also had roles kind of in consulting where I traveled quite a lot. So since February is the longest that I haven't been on an airplane in about 10 years, I think. I would most weeks, or at least every fortnight, I generally sort of travel somewhere. So I've really enjoyed not doing that, spending more time at home and on the surf coast, which is great.
Do you reckon that'll be something that you'll look to do a little bit more of, being around a bit more with I mean, the whole world's turning a bit more digital, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I've certainly been trying to over the last 12 months in particular, regardless of COVID, travel less. And that's been successful to some degree. And I hope that it can continue. There's something, as much as this Zoom is nice, though, it's good that we can connect. There's something about sitting with people for real, from a connection perspective, but also from a business perspective. So we can't totally replace meeting in person.
Yeah.
I think I was talking with someone the other day about what the first thing that you'll do when COVID is finished. And they said they'll get their laptop open, set it up, turn on Zoom, put it in the backyard and run the mower over it. So I think there's a fair bit of that we want to connect with people for real in person rather than digitally, I think.
That's really cool. What is the first thing that you'll do when COVID is over, or whatever that looks like?
That's a good question. I want to go skiing. I really like skiing. So I feel like I wouldn't go right now, particularly.
Is that on snow or on water?
No, on snow. I've never really done much water skiing on water, but on snow it's a lot of fun. But I feel like that's not a good activity for COVID, standing in big lift lines with half of Melbourne lining up. So hopefully we can do that. That'd be nice towards the end of winter.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that'd be cool. I've never been skiing before, so I imagine it'd be really cool.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Sorry, well, I have been banned from Dad Jokes at Surf Coast Cafe. I will keep that. No, that's good. Josh, we're really thankful to have you part of our church family, and you do a lot for the life in our church, and you contribute just musically, and even with your big brain, which is really good, and bigger heart, I'd say. We'd love to know a little bit about, when did Jesus become the hero of your story? What's that journey look like for you? Can you share a little bit about what it's been like being a disciple of Christ?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home. My dad has both mum and dad are strong Christians. Jesus was kind of talked about and central to a lot of what we did growing up. Was always really important to our family. So growing up as part of church and discussion about God was normal. I'd say when in my teens it became kind of obvious to me or revealed to me through a series of events that it actually meant something personal for me. It wasn't just God wasn't just a thing out there, but it was actually I needed saving, that I was broken and sinful, and that realizing that Jesus died so that I could be right with God. Probably don't have one specific moment, but probably two or three quite significant moments where realizing that God's grace meant something for me, and that meant that I needed to live and reorient my life in a different way. That's what God was asking me to do, particularly through camps, really, like Christian school holiday camps. There's an organisation, ESA, which is really significant to me kind of through my teenage years, and revealing that, to me on those camps. I think then, and so that's been a key kind of pillar in my life, that pillar, I guess, that I try and orient things around and make decisions around and live my life, really to serve Jesus. I think, probably then the most significant event then in my life since then, from a practical but also a faith perspective, is probably the 2009 bushfires, the Black Saturday bushfires. So in that, our family home got burnt down, and the town where I grew up was really significantly impacted. And I think for me that, there's a whole bunch of questions about, well, God, if you're so good and real, And if you love me, how could you let this happen? Because it all just seems bad. And I guess I expected subconsciously or consciously that, you know, if I did what God wanted, then he'd look after me and bad things wouldn't happen. Even though I knew that wasn't true, I guess when you're confronted with something that's significantly bad, those kind of feelings come out. And working through that has been really significant, probably for the 4 or 5 years after that, and kind of, I guess, understanding or thinking through who I am, who God is, who Jesus is, and how that all fits together. And I think something that really I learned through that and helped me really kind of learn to love God through that is the fact that Jesus came and he died and he suffered because the world's broken. And so in comparison, the small pain and suffering that I felt and still feel through that process, he gets that. He lived it way more to a level that I can't even understand. So yeah, I think, as far as Jesus being the hero, for me, I think that's kind of the most significant kind of personal kind of battle and working through and going, it's amazing that Jesus would come and do that for such a broken world, and for us that, don't deserve it, would come and suffer in a way that we can't even really start to understand, so that we can be right with him. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Sorry, I feel like I've just rambled for about 10 minutes. I don't know how long.
No, the Surf Coast Cafe is all about a good ramble. It's all about a good ramble. Especially when we get to ramble about how good Jesus is in the way that he has sacrificed so much for us who, when we really look at ourselves honestly, we're just like, we're not worth that. But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's so good.
He thinks that we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Yeah. So then how can we not live kind of in a different way because of that? How can that not, if we believe that and see that, how can it not change what we do day to day?
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. That's awesome. So, Josh, a question we usually ask after that is, what difference does Jesus make, is Jesus making in your life during this season? This is a season where I think many people would be asking, if God really is so good, then why would he allow this pandemic? If there really is this God that, exists and has control, why doesn't he just wipe it out? How does your understanding of the person and work of Jesus Christ, shape the way you're seeing the world in its current state?
Yeah, I think that we think that, and what I thought in that story that I just told about the fire, is that I think we have this kind of perception that we are the center of the universe, or I am, and everything revolves around me. And if something's not right for me, or I want something to be better, then I pray to God and try and make God, if I'm here and God's kind of rotating around me, and, oh, well, that's not right, God, so can you come in and fix this so that I can be right? But I think that kind of worldview, while it's kind of really, it's natural, right, that we put ourselves at the center of things, but it's also pretty kind of fundamentally, it's incorrect, right? The world isn't about us. The world was here long before us and will be here long after us. It's God that's got all of that, and that's at the center of the universe, and it's us kind of rotating around him. It's God at the middle, and we're much smaller and significant to God, but on a global scale, on a macro scale, he's got all of that. It's not all about us. And so I think then it comes back to understanding who Jesus is and his nature and his love for the world, and trusting who he is, and that he's got it. And even if it seems like it's not right for us, and tomorrow is harder than we'd like it to be, it's not our job to hold all that and understand all of that. It's God, and he's a good and loving God who sent his son to come and suffer so that we could be right with him. So I guess that's kind of the macro way that I would think about it. It's not about us, it's about him, and sometimes it's hard to understand. But I think I think that God would kind of respond to us similar to he does in the last couple of chapters of Job, where he says, were you there when I put the stars in space? You're questioning me. Why is this happening? Well, were you there? We weren't there, right? He's big and he's good, and he's got it, even if it's hard to understand.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's a bigger worldview than just ourselves, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
realize that there's actually more going on than our temporary schedule.
That's right. It's, I wanted to go skiing next week, but I can't. Well, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, thinking about, passages that come to mind in, these sort of seasons, I think Job is a wonderful one. Yeah, if God was actually going to confront us and have a chat, what would that look like? I think, I've been thinking a little bit about the book of Habakkuk, where the prophet is there and he's whinging to God about, all this stuff that's going on. He's just like, I can't believe we're doing this. And then God rocks up. He's just like, you know what? I'm doing something that you wouldn't even believe it if I told you.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah. And I think it comes back to understanding or appreciating how big God is, and how much how big he is, but also how good he is, like the nature of who he is.
Yeah.
And if he did tell us, like often you go, oh, just tell me, or
Yeah.
it's like you still wouldn't get it. You still
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you saw him, you'd die.
Yeah, that's right. So it's more loving that he's just like, no. You guys just need to be ignorant for a little while, because if you just didn't know what I was up to, you wouldn't want to go to next week, guys, because you can't handle it right now. Just baby steps, my children.
Yeah. All that to say, that doesn't mean it's easy, right? Because we're self-centered. We want things to be right and easy for us. But I think reminding ourselves of that truth is really important through these types of times, and talking about it. And it's okay to go, where is God? Why did this happen? They're fine things to ask, and I think asking them in a way and then discussing it, reminding ourselves of the truth, the relevant truth, is really important.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, God can handle that, can't he? You only have to open up the book of Psalms to see, it being again, how long, O Lord, where are you, God?
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing to do, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Something we should be doing. I think we should, become proficient and normalize together with one another, because that is the beautiful gift of even a church family like our own. We get to come together and talk about these things, and I know personally you leave those conversations being like, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's really helpful.
Probably something that we can be all better at. I think we're good at saying, when we tell personal stories, like, oh, I was struggling with this, but now I've got it sorted.
Yeah.
We don't often say, oh, I'm struggling with this, and leave it there and want people to speak into it. We only tell the story when we think we've got the answer.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with struggling with something and letting people kind of speak gospel kind of truth into that situation. Yeah,
it's real, isn't it? It's real. What sort of community would we rather be a part of, where we're all faking it, or actually going, no, this is tough? And then
that's right. And it is tough. It's been a tough 3 or 4 months, right?
Yeah, it's good. Just thinking through all the toughness, and even considering God's goodness and His power through it all. What's one way that you've been encouraged this last little while, Joe?
What's a way that I've been encouraged? I've been really encouraged by our GC. We have, I don't know, there's probably 10 or so kind of that have that we're meeting regularly through the weekdays, and I feel like it's hard for some people to join. Some people don't want to do Zoom, which I totally get, and I don't really want to do Zoom either. But I feel like by being kind of going, no, I'm doing it anyway, and I want to meet and I want to chat and I want to have meaningful connection with people, even if it's in a forum that I don't want. I feel like we've really built on our relationships through the time. We've got to express some of the difficulties and our frustrations in pretty specific ways together. And I feel like we've come much closer to each other through that process. And I'm really encouraged by that, that it hasn't just been about, oh, it's all hard. It is hard. And I feel like we've got to kind of come together as a community and get to know each other and kind of share in that together. And also through that process, those conversations are based. Each week we're reading 1 Corinthians at the moment and have, Bible-based gospel conversations in those hard times, and still, even through it all, get to build meaningful connections. I've been really encouraged by that.
So good. So good. Well, Joe, we're encouraged by you, and I'm encouraged by what you've been sharing and just the difference Jesus makes in this time. And just, I think, it's been great just to reconsider and remember the bigness and the goodness and the love of our God. So thanks for sharing with us today. Love the opportunity to pray for you, if that's all right.
Sure.
Yeah, let's pray. Dearest Father, we thank you for our brother Joash. We thank you for the life that you've given him. We thank you that you've opened his eyes to the beauty and the truth and the relevance of Jesus, and that Jesus loves him so much that he came, he lived, and he died, and he rose again to new life so that Joash would also have new life. Thank you, God, that is also the reality for many of us in our church family, and we pray that we would know your love more and more every day, and that, you would continue to encourage us in this season of change and what could be doubt, and help us to be a church that has meaningful conversations, that doesn't fake it, but actually goes through life together, knowing that we do that with you by our side. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, Joe. So good. We'll see you later.